rise.
The Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Please be seated. Good morning, welcome. Court officer, could you please call the case?
Good morning, Your Honors. This is case KSC BC 2020-05, the Specialist Prosecutor versus Salih Mustafa.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. First of all, I will call appearances. Who is present, Madam Prosecutor, for the Specialist Prosecutor's Office?
Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, everyone. The SPO today is represented by Alex Whiting, Deputy Prosecutor, Cesare Michalsuk, Prosecutor, Filippo De Minicis, Associate Prosecutor, Julie Mann, our Case Manager, and myself, Silvia D'Ascoli, Associate Prosecutor.
Thank you. Victims' Counsel, you have the floor.
Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, everybody. The Victims' Counsel team is today represented by Marie-Pierre Barbeau, Senior Legal Associate, Lisbeth Zechfeld, Co-Counsel, and myself, Annie Poes, as Victims' Counsel. Thank you.
Thank you. Defense Counsel, you have the floor.
Good morning, Your Honor. Defense is represented by Mr. Betem Shala, my co-counsel, interpreter and investigator, Mr. Fatmir Pillai. Mr. Mustafa is joining us via remote, and myself, I'm present, Julius von Monet, lead counsel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Mustafa, good morning. Does the connection work fine? Can you hear us?
Yes, Your Honor.
Record, you are appearing before trial panel 1. Before we start with the examination by the Victims' Counsel of the witness, yesterday I anticipated that we would discuss the scheduling of witness 3594 and 4603. With regard to the testimony of witness 4603, notwithstanding the revised estimation for direct examination by the SPO, the panel considers it appropriate to start with the examination of the witness on Monday, 1st of November. And the panel clarifies in this respect that while availability of the courtroom is a primary factor to consider for the scheduling, the panel must also take into account the preparation of the examination by the judges and also the assessment afterwards of the testimonies, and we want to have sufficient time for that. So then we have witness 3594. We will commence on Tuesday, 12 October, 9:30, as originally was foreseen to do so. And I would like to note that the panel will try to adhere to the schedule as shared with the parties and the Victims' Counsel. And we will only use the optional days if it's really necessary. I mean, we can all count on the schedule, but sometimes there are unforeseen circumstances, of course, but normally we will adhere to that schedule. Okay, then there is another point, the scheduling for the witnesses of November and December. The SPO has indicated that it will come with a revised estimation for the direct examination of the upcoming witnesses. The panel would be grateful if the revised estimates and possibly the order of the testimony that the SPO proposes until December 2021 will come as soon as possible this week. You sent by this week, but as soon as for planning purposes. And in this regard, we have another question. Now we would like to know if the order of testimony of the witnesses, if it's only based on their availability or if there are also other factors that come in, and if that is the case, if the SPO would be open to a change of order of the testimonies upon receipt of the above mentioned re-estimation of the time. And then, lastly, the panel recalls that for the month of November, we have already a set numbers of days in court. And we don't have the possibility to have a fourth session. That's the case for now. And for these two reasons, if we don't finish a testimony in 1 week, we most likely have to jump to the next week. And that's the reason that the panel also wants to be cautious that we can finish the witness within the time foreseen. That's an extra reason I want to bring to your attention when we discuss this scheduling issues. Yeah? Good. Now that we have discussed scheduling matters, we can continue with the testimony of witness 1679. And I see Mr.
Yes.
Van Bonnet standing.
Yes.
You have the floor.
I just want to make sure. So, for next week, we have on Monday. Did I understand well? On Monday, 4603.
I said the first. I will repeat what I said.
Please.
The 1st of November, we will have 4603.
Okay. Yes, I see. Yes.
The 1st of November, we will have 4603.
Yes.
And
the 12th of October, we will start
and
with
Tuesday, as foreseen.
Yes.
The question
Yes.
we had to answer is if we, after 3594, would also hear the testimony of 4603.
Right.
And for the reasons explained, we prefer to bring that to the 1st of November.
Excellent, because it will fit all the flight schedules as well for the Friday. Thank you very much.
Okay. No questions further? If I went too quick on something? Good. Now, we will now go to the testimony of witness 1679. Could we please usher the witness into the courtroom? Good morning, Mr. Witness, and welcome to the Specialist Chambers.
Good morning, thank you.
You can hear me. Did you rest?
I tried to.
Today we will continue with the testimony, and it's now the turn of the Victims' Counsel to ask you some questions based on the time effectively used by the Specialist Prosecution Office, and so that is 45 minutes. So you have the floor, Victims' Counsel.
Thank you, Your Honours, and good morning, Mr. Witness. First of all, thank you for your time and efforts yesterday already to help us in better understanding what happened in Slush during the war. In my questions today, I will focus helping us better understand the impact that those crimes, that those experiences that you described yesterday linked to Slush had on your life. And Mr. Witness, let me start with some of those things that you described yesterday in your statement about the physical injuries, the injuries to your body, and also to some of the mental impact. But before getting into all those details, let me start with the physical aspects and with something you mentioned in your testimony when you said, I still have consequences today, which is, for reference purposes, yesterday's transcript, page 78 in line 5. Can you please tell us in more detail about those physical consequences? For example, I'll ask very openly first. Physical consequences that might have impacted you even till today.
Are you asking about the physical consequences I had?
Okay, sorry, I was getting the Albanian rather than the English translation. So would you be able to, can I ask you to repeat what you just said, please?
I was just asking, do you want me to tell you about the physical consequences I have even today?
Your Honors, we're in private session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Please proceed, Victims' Counsel.
Yes, thank you. This question is one that relates to the personal life and family life, and therefore might have potential to identify more. You've mentioned your family. How has your personal life and your family life been affected by the events in Slush? I realize it's been a long, long time, and therefore I think it's important that we try to focus on what happened, or if you can, try to identify what is linked to what you have experienced in Slush.
That was because of the injuries I suffered in Slush. I tried to go to private doctors because when you go to the doctor, you can't just tell them that I was tortured by the KLA, so I tried to find private ways to be treated. And that's what I did. I went to private physicians because I couldn't go to just any doctor and tell them that the KLA tortured me. It's different where we live. The mentality is different. You can't say these things. Part of our society has this mentality. Because if these things happen to you and then you go to the doctor, maybe you find those same people who tortured you working at the doctor, so it would be difficult for me to go anywhere.
I understand. When you say private doctors, did you have to pay for those treatments? And if so, were you easily able to afford those treatments?
Yes, of course, you had to pay, but my family paid for the treatment. My family supported me.
Thank you. One more aspect of the physical injuries is a question on the functioning of your limbs, on arms, your hands. Have the injuries impacted those in the way you can use them, in the way they feel? Do you suffer any pains that continue to this day? Could you explain that, please?
I was in a lot of pain then.
Your Honors, we're in private session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Victims' Counsel, please proceed.
Thank you. One more area of injuries that you've mentioned, and I'm sorry that I've got to follow up on all this, and you do say we can see this, but because we've got to speak about this to put this on the record for the court, this is why I'm asking you to try and describe things to all my questions I have for you, because you've given us very detailed explanations, and I thank you for that. And with that, I shall finish my examination of the witness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Victims' Counsel. I now look at the Defense Counsel. Are you ready to start with cross-examination? Yeah. Then, Mr. Witness, I will now give the floor to the Defense Counsel to pose questions to you. Okay?
That's all right, madam.
And Defense Counsel, you have... Let me see, I will first do something else. Madam Court Officer, can we go into public? Madam Court Officer, can we go back into public, please?
Your Honors, we're back in public session.
Okay. Mr. Witness, I told you that the Defense Counsel is now going to pose questions to you, but before I give him the floor, I would like to know, how are you doing?
I'm fine. I feel fine. a bit depressed, but I'm trying to get over that feeling.
We see that you're doing your great effort to be here. Thank you for that. Defense Counsel, I note that you have in principle 1 hour and 30 minutes. You have the floor.
Good morning, Mr. Witness. I think we have to start maybe a private session, Your Honor.
Madam Court Officer, could you bring us into private session?
Your Honors, we're now in private session.
And would it be possible to put up on the screen the unmixed statement of the witness? And then the Albanian version, which is tab 1 of the prosecution's. It has ERN number 7000687 up to 91. Mr. Witness, can you see the document?
Yes, sir.
Bottom of that document? Excuse me, this is the English version, right?
No. Yes. Yes. It is not even done right.
Yeah, so, sorry. Yes.
This is-
Can you see the document? It's, we would like to go to the bottom of that document. Do you remember actually in which year you gave this particular statement to the people of the UNMIK?
No, I don't remember the date.
If we go to the bottom of that document, on the left bottom, is that your signature?
It could be, although it looks a bit suspicious, but it could be.
What do you mean it looks suspicious?
Well, maybe at that time some letters were written in a bigger format, some in a smaller, but it doesn't matter. It is my signature. I accept it as mine. No problem.
And I'm not sure whether this is the last page or the page before. I'm not sure. Let me go to the page before, maybe. Yes, can we go to the bottom of that page? On the right bottom, is that your signature, Mr. Witness?
Yes, it is. Microphone.
So that's, yes. I think this document has 3 pages, right? Maybe 91, yes, that's one. Yes.
Could you use the mic,
Could,
please?
could we blow up the bottom part of it? Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Witness, is that your signature on the bottom left?
Yes, they're all my signatures.
You tell the truth in that statement.
I tried to tell the truth as I'm telling it today, but this statement was written by somebody else. It was not me writing this statement. As far as I can remember, it was an interpreter who was writing down the statement. What I was trying to explain there is what I'm explaining here today.
I see, Mr. Witness. The document says that it was read in the native language to you, the stating person, and it was confirmed by the stating person. where you initially arrived. To who did you report there?
Well, there were so many people there, refugees, people, displaced people from the town, so it was not proper reporting, official reporting. You just spoke to people.
But in order to join the KLA in Mramor, did you find somebody there from the KLA to who you reported and said for yourself, here I am? Could you explain how that went?
No, there were 2 or 3 people from the KLA there. We asked them, where is the KLA, because we want to join. They told us, you have to go to Slush for that. And the next day we continued on our way. We asked people where to go because it was the first time we had left town to go to the villages. So we just followed their instructions and went to the school in Slush.
Did your family stay behind in your home, or what was that?
At that time, people were expelled from their homes. Some left for Macedonia, some went to the villages. My family went to Macedonia.
What period of time was that? Do you recall that? That your family left to Macedonia?
It was during that time when they were expelled.
Which time was that? Do you recall that? That is my question.
It was during the war in 1999.
And during which part, which time of the war was that? Do you recall that?
I can't remember. I don't know how to explain it to you. It was at the time when people were being expelled from their homes and forced to leave by the Serb army. That time. I don't know how to explain it better.
Do you maybe recall the season in which that was? Was it summer, winter? What was it? Maybe?
No, I don't remember. I don't think it was winter because there was not much snow on the ground. Maybe not at all. No snow on the ground. I can't remember. Dem Show and Triumph. So we reported to Fatmir Sopi. They took our details. He said that we could stay there, and he said that we had to be trained first. So we remained there.
What kind of details did Fatmir Sopi take down from you?
name, surname, date of birth, place of residence, main personal details.
Was there anything else he asked you?
No. No other questions. He asked whether we had gone there to join, to contribute to the war effort. We said yes. He said okay. He told us where we would sleep or where we would eat. Basic things. It was not a long conversation. We then had more to do with Adam Shehu and the training than anything else.
Defense Counsel,
Yes.
just two remarks. Are we approaching the questions that could be asked in
Public session,
public?
yeah, I think so, yes.
And the other thing is that for
Yeah,
your
yeah.
information, we are approaching the break time.
Yeah, I wonder, because this is a lengthy part.
To
that
do
I
in
would like to
public.
do. And we can do that in public, but I would sure, if we cut now, maybe it's naturally better a moment than to do it, to continue.
Okay, thank you. Then I will ask Madam Court Officer to bring us back into public session.
Your Honor, we're back in public session.
Thank you. Mr. Witness, it's now time for the first break. We will have a 30 minutes break, and I will ask Madame Court Usher to assist you exiting the courtroom, and we will see you back at 11:30.
Okay.
Yeah. We will resume in 30 minutes. The hearing is adjourned.
All rise. All rise.
Please be seated. Okay, let us see if we are all in the same composition. Yes, the SPO, Victims' Counsel, and yes, the defense is also in the same composition. Mr. Mustafa is there. Yes, before we bring in the witness, 1679, I have a request for the SPO. It would be appreciated, if possible, if you could already send the list with the documents you would like to use in direct examination for witness 4603 during next week. Only if it's possible, but it's a request from our side.
Yes, Your Honors, of course it's possible.
Okay.
We will do that.
Okay, thank you. Good. Madam Court Usher, can you please bring the witness back to the courtroom? Welcome back, Mr. Witness.
Thank you.
Continue now with the questioning by the defense counsel for Mr. Mustafa. Please take the floor.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Mr. Witness, you arrived at some point in Slash and you reported to Mr. Sopi, and he took down the details of you. That is where we basically ended. I pick it up from there. Did you, without mentioning your name, list yourself under your own name?
Yes, under my own name and details.
And could you tell us what happened next when you had reported to enlist yourself for the KLA? What was the next step for you personally?
We didn't take any particular steps. We were told where we would sleep, where we would stay, and we continue to stay in that school building. Microphone, please.
Could you tell, was there any explanation what you would actually learn there?
We learned some military exercises, training, advice, these sorts of things.
And did you have a specific trainer assigned to you?
No. all of us went to do military training. Adem Shehu and a person called Triumfi was there, so we went out for training. There were more of us, not only me, but the others who were in that building as well.
Did you join in some kind of new generation of KLA soldiers? Were they already busy, or did you start all together, or as you arrived just like that? Could you explain whether that you entered into a particular group of people?
With everybody who was there, there were many others there. We did all these activities, military activities together. We did the military training together.
Could you tell us how would the first day look like for you when you had arrived? Next morning, what happened? What was the actual training that happened the next day?
The following day, there was a sort of a meadow, and there were certain items used for training. They made us run, crawl, climb on ropes, so these types of military exercise.
With how many people were you in a group?
When we went out for training, in the school itself, there were many of us, but when we would go out for training, we would do so in groups of 17, 18 persons. Whereas, as I said, in the school building itself, there were many of us.
And could you take us through a regular day of training? Could you please tell us, you wake up in the morning, then what would happen? Could you take us through a regular day of training?
I don't know how to describe it to you. You would wake up in the morning, stay with friends, comrades. Then when the time for training came, together with Adem Shehu and Triumph, we would go to the training ground. There we would do these military exercises for some 2 hours, sometimes 2.5 hours, until we were really tired. Then we would go back to the school. There we would stay, eat our meals. So this was how the days went by while I was there at the school.
And could you be a little bit more specific about this military training that you say, regular exercises? What kind of exercise did you do actually? Or your group?
Maybe I can explain it to you in more details. There were, for example, trees or logs. There were ropes that we had to climb up. There were then wire that you had to crawl under. There were logs that you had to jump through and run through. So these sorts of exercises.
And do you recall any of your fellow group members? And if you do, could you please give us some of their names?
Which group are you referring to? Sorry.
you would go with a group of about 17, 18, do training exercises.
Defense counsel?
Yes.
I would like to make sure if he's going to mention names that we do that in private, just to be sure that I don't know what will come out of that. So
Sure.
yes, we do that for this question, and then we go back into public because you indicated that it could be done in public. Madam Court Officer, could you bring us into a private session, please?
Your Honors, we're back in public session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Defense counsel, please proceed.
Did you meet these people after the war? These people that you mentioned?
It could have happened that I saw them, but I did not have contact with them, apart from those persons that I mentioned with whom I went to join.
Now, you stayed for 5 days in training altogether, 4 nights or 5 days. My question is, did you constantly have the same trainer assigned to your group?
Yes, the same person.
Or who were they?
Adem Shehu and Triumph.
And were there any other trainers that you know by name?
No, I don't know any other trainer by name apart from these two that I mentioned, at least for those days that I was there.
And Adem Shehu and Triumph, were they staying, meaning sleeping, also in the same building?
They were staying somewhere there, but not in the same room with us, because it was a school and there were more rooms in there. It was a school building, and they were also staying there.
I meant in the same school building, but not in your room. That is correct.
Yes, yes.
Training location where you went, was that nearby or was it far away, or could you give us an indication about that?
Let's say the school was on a hill, and this training route was like between two hills. It was about 15 minutes far from the school. And I'm saying this in approximate terms. I do not know exactly how far it was, but this is what I remember, how long it took us on foot to get there.
One of the people that you not just mentioned, but earlier on mentioned, was a female.
Yes.
Did that female person also stay in the same building, sleep in the same building?
She stayed in the same building in a different room. She was not staying in the same room with us.
And do you recall approximately how many female people were in that school as a recruit or otherwise?
I don't remember. I don't remember how many females were there. As for men, there were many. And we didn't have any contact there with females.
And before you could enter the KLA, was there any assessment or that they would say, well, you can join or you cannot join? Was there any such conversation or with you or the other people that you went with?
No, there was no such conversation. We simply went there, told them, here we are, we came to join to give our contribution. They said, yes, you can join. Took our personal details. So this was it. There was nothing more than that with that commander. And once you were admitted, you knew you were admitted because they would take your details and they would tell you that you can continue with the exercises. So you immediately knew that you were admitted and that you should, from that moment onwards, give your contribution.
Was there any question about what kind of specific talents or capacities you might have so that they could assign you to a particular unit or area?
No, they didn't ask me such questions at the time. We went through exercises, and as I said, I did not stay there for long.
In one of your statements, I recall, and that is the statement at the SPO, Part 2, Read 3, Revised, page 2. I read that you did 1 day of guarding. Is that correct?
For the record, excuse me, for the record, it's 060698 TRET. Yeah.
Do you recall that?
Yes.
Alone, or did you do that with somebody else?
No. Together with another person. It wasn't quite guard.
Do you recall what actually the neighbors with who you went to Slash, the people you mentioned earlier, do you know what happened to them? Which eventual tasks they were assigned?
I don't know what tasks they were given. After I was released, I went to see them in their houses. They told me that after I had been taken away, they had also left several days later. They had returned to their homes.
Defense counsel, I just want to remind the witness of a point. Mr. Witness, don't mention any names, also not any nicknames, because we are in open session. Yeah?
I really apologize, Your Honor.
For your benefit.
Mr. Witness, at some point, some people came for you to that school in Slash. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And if I'm correct, these were 4 people, is that correct?
Yes, that's how it was.
And if I'm correct, one of them went to Fatmir Sopi, and 3 of those stayed with you. Is that correct?
This is how it was.
And why would that person need to go to Fatmir Sopi?
That I don't know. They had their own things. I was outside with the other 3. I don't know why he went inside, what he discussed with whom, I don't know.
So just to be sure, are you actually sure he went to Fatmir Sopi, or do you not know whether he went to Fatmir Sopi? He just went into the school for some reason.
The school was there. Fatmir Sopi was in one office. He entered the building, so he went towards the part where Adem Sheikh Fatmir Sopi were staying, and I really did not pay attention. It was of no interest to me what was going on there. Now, as to what he did there inside, that I don't know. They know it.
Do you recall the name of the person who went to see somebody in the school?
Wait, wait. I don't want that in public, please. We are going into private. Please, Madam Court Officer, could you bring us there?
Your Honor, we're in public session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Defense Counsel, please proceed.
Were there any specific insignia on them?
Yes, they had an emblem with an eagle and the inscription Bia. Yes, they did have emblems.
You were pointing. Could you point on yourself where that was, where you saw that?
Here or here, they had a round emblem on the arm here, but in various positions. I didn't pay attention much to where these insignia were placed. I never thought that such a thing would happen to me.
Defense Counsel, let me just clarify it a little bit more. On the left or on the right side of the clothing was the insignia?
Right here on the left.
Don't see what you're signing, so in the record it will appear that what you said. Thank you. Please proceed, Defense Counsel.
And is that on the left, on the chest? Do I understand that? As I see you pointing.
Yes, both on the chest and on the arm. Sometimes they had things written on their arms, but I didn't pay much attention whether it was an emblem, insignia, or something else.
Are we in public session? Yeah, good. Okay. Mr. Witness, then from the school on, where did you go?
From the school, we continued on to that part through meadows. There was another building there. They put something on over my head, and they told me to lower my head, and took me inside that building.
And was that building far away?
No, it wasn't very far away from the school. I think perhaps 20 minutes walk away. I'm not very sure now, but approximately 20 minutes walk.
And do you recall when whatever was on your head was taken off your head? Do you recall when that was?
When I was inside. Because even when I was down there, when they were taking me inside, they told me that the commander needs to ask you something. And when I got inside, they took that thing off my head.
Did you know at that moment, when you arrived there, the name of that commander?
When he started to ask me questions, I only knew that it was a commander, because that's what I was told earlier, that the commander needs to ask you something. So all I knew at that moment was that this person was the commander.
And this commander, could you describe him?
I don't know how to describe him to you.
Why can you not describe him?
How? That's the accused that you are defending. Perhaps he was slimmer then.
I just want to ask you to give a description of the person that you met when you met this commander.
The commander was sitting there. We got inside and the other soldiers told him, "Here you are, he's the person." He was wearing a camouflage jacket and started asking me, "Why are you here?" and things like that. I answered that I had come to join and to make my contribution. He started shouting and saying things like, "You are lying, tell me the truth," and got up and hit me. And the other persons also hit me. The other soldiers asked him, "What shall we do with him?" He said, "Just finish him. Finish him off." These are the things I remember from the time, and I'm trying to explain them to you.
And what was the color of his whatever he was wearing?
Well, it was the color of the army uniform. He was not wearing a black uniform. It was a different uniform. I don't know about the rest.
If I recall your story well, that was the first time that you got beaten. Is that correct?
Yes, that was the first time, the initial beating.
Defense counsel, I want to put a question to the witness. Mr. Witness, how are you doing?
I'm okay, thank you. I'm trying to keep calm and collected.
Good. If you need a break, you can always tell that. Yeah?
Thank you.
You, after this beating, you were taken to the barn or the cow shed, whatever we want to call it. You were taken to the other place, correct?
Yes.
Describe that place for us, that cow shed or barn, whatever we want to call it, in dimensions.
It was not a big space. I don't really know how big exactly it was. It was normal ground. There was hay on the floor. It was damp. Stone walls and beams. I don't know really how big it was. Perhaps as big as a normal room.
Touch the ceiling, for example, or was it higher than?
I don't remember. I don't know. At the time I was smaller, and I think perhaps I wouldn't be able to touch the ceiling then.
And how many steps would it take from one side to the other side, if you give an estimate?
I don't know. So I wouldn't be able to tell you.
And do you recall if there was a window?
I don't remember. As far as I remember, there was no window. There was just a door, a wooden door, and there were some spaces where you could see light between the wooden slats. But I didn't pay much attention to these things.
You spent there 18 days in total, is that correct?
I was released on the 18th day.
And so that's 17 nights, I assume. Of those 18 days, how many days have you been beaten?
Almost every day. I don't know whether there was the odd day where you were beaten less severely than on the other days. I can't say that we were not beaten every day. We were beaten every day, but sometimes the beatings were lighter. Perhaps downstairs in the barn we had those lighter beatings. Upstairs it was heavier and more severe.
Defense Counsel, this was a question which was put also yesterday, and it was extensively talked about. So I don't want to interrupt your line of questioning, but I would not like to repeat that.
You told us that you have been beaten multiple times, and when there was a severe beating, you would be taken upstairs, I take it.
Yes.
And was there questioning when you would be beaten, or would it be just that you would go up and you would be beaten just like that? Or was there any questioning in all the moments that you have been beaten?
Sometimes they would ask you questions. Tell us, why are you here? And at other times they would call me a thief and call me all sorts of names. They did whatever they wanted with me.
Was the commander present at each of the beatings?
No, he wasn't. there were occasions that he wasn't present.
And of the many times that you were beaten, how many times was he not present? Do you recall that?
I don't remember. But there were occasions when he was not there.
Defense counsel?
Yes?
You have now used less or more the time that was allocated to you, but if you need more time, you will be granted that.
I would like to certainly have some more time then.
I understand that. How much more time do you need according to your estimation?
I think 20-some minutes. 20-some minutes.
Okay, please proceed.
Is it correct that 2 women participated in the questioning or the beatings?
I know that there were 2 females there. And I have a scar because of one of them. On that occasion, she was there. And I have a scar because of her hitting me.
To go into private if you are going to ask further questions on this specific point?
Yes, I think it is better then.
Okay. Madam Court Officer, could you bring us into private, please?
Your Honors, we're in private session.
Thank you. Please proceed, Defense Counsel.
Mr. Witness, how did you get that scar? Or was it a scar that you said? I think you said a scar. By one of these female persons?
Yes, I have a scar because of one of the females.
What happened?
They were torturing me, and they were making fun of me, and she had a hot iron and burnt me with it. And that's how I got the scar, which I have to this day.
A hot iron, do you mean an iron where we iron clothes with? Such an iron?
Yes, an ironing iron. She was doing something in the room. I didn't see her. She was behind me.
It was not accidental.
Perhaps everything that happened to me was accidental. I don't know.
Counsel, I see the victim's counsel standing.
Yes, I object to that question because it isn't indeed an attempt to try to ascertain the truth, but basically an assumption which is more of a rhetorical question rather than anything else. So I would want to express that more focus on ascertainment of the truth in an effective way is needed here. Thank you.
I will allow this question, and the witness has answered it.
Mr. Witness, what kind of scar did that inflict on you?
I have the scar that I was burnt. It was bigger initially, but now it's still there, although it's smaller.
Mr. Witness, you have been stating that you have been maltreated with electricity. My question is, that electricity, how was that put on you? Could you explain that?
I'll try to explain. They would get wires from a box and attach those wires to your feet. And when they touch the button in that box, you would get a shock. This is how it was.
Defense counsel, this question has been asked yesterday, so I would insist, you have been given more time, but I would insist on not repeating the questions that have been asked already.
It's usually a step-up question to another question that was not. Would you have bare feet, or would you have shoes on or clothes on when that would be done?
When they started beating you, you lost your shoes. They were not on your feet. But if when they beat you, they wanted to electrocute you, they put your trousers up, they folded them up, and they put the wires attached them to the flesh.
And with how many people would that be done?
Parents were in public session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Yes, we have concluded the questioning by the defense. I'm looking to the SPO whether they need time to redirect and how much time you would be needing, and that would be for after the break, because I see it's 5 minutes to 1.
Yes, Your Honors, thank you. I do have a few questions for redirect. I don't think it will take me longer than 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, very well. Thank you. Then for now, we will adjourn. Mr. Witness, we will now take a break, a lunch break, till 2:30. Yeah, and I will now ask Madame Court Usher to assist you exiting the courtroom.
Thank you.
Good, we see each other at 2:30. The hearing is adjourned.
All rise. All rise.
Please be seated. Welcome back. Let me see. For the SPO, I see the same team present. The same goes for the Victims' Council's team. And here on my left side, I see a change.
Yes, Mr. Pillai will not be joining, maybe later on, but I think he will not be joining this afternoon.
And I see also Mr. Mustafa present. Good. We continue with the testimony of witness 1679. Madame Court Usher, can you please bring the witness back? Thank you. Mr. Witness, welcome back.
Thank you.
Continue now with some of the questioning, and I will now give the floor to Madame Prosecutor. Before the lunch, Madam Prosecutor, you indicated that you would like to redirect for about 10-15 minutes. Yeah?
Yes, Your Honors, and it will probably be less than that.
Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honors. Mr. Witness, earlier in cross-examination, the defense counsel asked you questions about a prior statement. This was from page 17 onwards of today's transcript. Defense counsel also made references to some corrections that were made to that statement during the SPO interview, and this is from page 19 of today's transcript. Do you remember that, Mr. Witness?
Yes.
Since the questions I have involved protected information, I will ask that we please move into private session.
Yes. Madam Court Officer, could you bring us into private session, please?
Your Honors, we're in private session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Madam Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honors. Sir, in fact, you made handwritten corrections to the Albanian copy
Yes, some of them. However, I did not have the chance to see everything that was in that previous statement, but in relation to the questions your prosecutor asked me, I tried to correct the things that he asked of me.
Okay, and these were areas that were touched upon during the evidence. So it's good to have your corrections and clarifications on the record. And Your Honours,
Yes, these were the ones.
For the record, this became Exhibit 4 attached to the SPO interview, and the ERN number is the one recited before. Okay, yes, those were my questions. I don't have further questions in redirect. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. Madam Court Officer. Oh, Madam Prosecutor, you wanted to say?
Yes,
something?
that we can go back to open session.
That was a... Madam Court Officer, can we go into a public session, please?
Your Honours, we're in public session.
Microphone, please.
Victims Counsel, do you hear us? I was under the impression that maybe something was not okay. Okay, good. Do you want to ask some additional questions?
Your Honours, if we could have 1 minute to consult in follow-up to the prosecution's questions, and then I will answer that.
You may.
Your Honours, we don't have any further questions. Thanks.
We have
Do
no
you
further
want?
questions.
You have no more questions. Okay. Good. Mr. Witness, you have been asked questions by the specialist prosecutor and by the Victims Counsel and by the Defense Counsel, and I ask you to bear a little bit more because also the judges of the panel would like to ask you some questions. It will help us to clarify some more what you have explained to us in your testimony, and will be of help in understanding better the events you have described to us.
Okay.
Good. Let us see. Yeah, we will now remain in public session for some questions, and then we will go into private session. You talked this morning, no, it was yesterday, and the reference is the real-time transcript of the 4th of October. And at the other beatings where you say he was present? Did he beat you then too?
No, he didn't beat me. He perhaps was there, but he didn't beat me. The other ones beat me, but he was present there, was looking on, and was making fun of me. He beat me the initial time, the first time, but the other times I was beaten by his comrades.
Good. Then we will go to a next question. Court officer, Madam Court Officer, I would kindly ask you to put up a list of pictures, and not at the same time. I would like to start with a picture SPO EOO222559. Mr. Witness, please have a look at these pictures. Do you recognize anyone in this picture?
From what I can see, the one sitting down here on the left resembles to Salih.
Madam Court Usher to come up to you and make you mark with a pen the person you are referring to.
This one.
I will now ask the court officer to put on another picture. Could you please put on SPO EOO222547? Do you recognize anyone in this picture?
Yes, he resembles him.
Okay, good. That will do for now. Madame Court Usher, it's fine. Okay, my next question is, when you were staying in the barn in Zlaž, you told in your SPO witness interview, and the reference number is 060698 TRET, Red 3 Part 1, page 11, lines 14 till 16. You told that people were brought in who later, after 2 or 3 days, would be taken away. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that. I meant one person who came there and did not stay long.
How many people approximately would have been coming into the barn, staying there some days and be leaving again?
There were 6 of us there, and a 7th person came. He did not stay long there. The other 6 of us were there most of the time.
That. And do you know if, other than in your barn, people were being detained in maybe other barns there?
I'm assuming there were, because we could hear screams from other people. We could hear the voices of other people being ill-treated. So I think there were other people being detained there.
And the other screams you heard, in which language were they talking?
In our language, in Albanian.
That you were released from the barn. Did you see other people being released than the person who were with you in the barn?
No, I didn't see anyone else being released. There were soldiers, I don't know, they were guards, I think, and I saw the soldiers bringing that other person in, but I didn't see anyone else being released.
I won't say the name, but that was the person we already discussed today. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Could we go into private session, please?
Your Honor, we're in private session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. I have some questions for you, Mr. Witness, with regard to the length of your stay at the barn. Earlier today, and then I refer to the real-time transcript of today, page 49, lines 6 till 9. That was during the questioning by the defense. You stated that you stayed 18 days in the barn at Slush. And how do you know that it were 18 days?
I said that I was released on the 18th day. I knew how many days I was in there because of the light I could see between the slats of the door and to the barn. I could tell when it was day, and that's how I counted the days.
Okay. And when you arrived
Your Honours, we're in public session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Mr. Witness, due to the technical problem, we need to take a short break. So you will be ushered out the courtroom, and when we can start again or restart, then we will ask you to come back. I think it's not that much anymore. Yes, good. Due to the technical problems, I've been requested to have a short break, and we hope to continue soon. We will adjourn, and as soon as possible we will come back. Okay.
All rise. All rise.
Please be seated. Madam, I heard that the technical hiccup has been repaired. Madam Court Usher, could you please usher the witness in? Mr. Witness, welcome back. I will repeat the question.
Thank you.
Because in that way we can put it into the written record of what is happening in the courtroom. Yes? Madam Court Officer, could you bring us back into private?
I don't remember. I don't remember that he gave a direct order except for the first occasion that I described.
Or encouraging in some kind? Okay.
I don't remember. There was, you could not dare encourage something or do something there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Witness. We reached the end of your testimony. Yes, and I can imagine that it must have been very tiring and very demanding. And I would like to thank you for your efforts you put into giving your testimony. I believe that your testimony will be helpful to find the truth in this case. So thank you very much. We wish you a safe journey home. And I remind you that you should not discuss with anyone the statement you have given here before the Kosovo Specialist Chambers. And thank you. You will be now ushered out by Madame Court Usher.
Thank you, all of you.
Okay. At this point in time, I have a look around the courtroom. Madam Prosecutor, is there anything you would like to raise with the panel?
Nothing further, Your Honors.
Okay. And Madam Victim Counsel, is there something you would like to raise?
No, thank you, nothing.
And the Defense Counsel?
Yes, Your Honor. I would just like to bring to the attention of the panel that the photographs that we are showing have been published in online newspapers, television, and so on. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Okay. We note that, and we will come back to that, Defense Counsel. Now, I thank the parties and the Victim Counsel and not the registry because it's not there, for their attendance. And I wish to thank the interpreters, the stenographer, the people from the audiovisual booth, and the security. I will adjourn the hearing till next Tuesday at 9:30. The hearing is adjourned.
All rise.